Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to your sleep story. I am Teresa Noy, your radical self-love coach. I work with high-achieving women who typically put themselves last to love themselves enough to put themselves first. You deserve to love, cherish, and honor yourself without guilt because your well-being matters. It gives me great joy to be the voice that guides you into a restful sleep tonight. You are so deeply loved. Your existence is the proof. Before we begin tonight's sleep story, let's start with a relaxation session. I'm going to count down from 10 to 1, and as I do, allow yourself to let go more and more. 10. Feel the support beneath you, the support of your bed, the floor, and the earth beneath. Imagine the warm sand of a beautiful beach cradling you, holding you with the earth's gentle strength. Allow that certainty, that solidity to enable you to release a little more, to sink into this moment a bit more. 9. You are safe. All is well. Allow my voice to be a point of safety for you. Allow my voice to be an anchor that keeps you in a safe space. Know that my voice will only ever bring you into safe places. Feel it into your body now. Notice where you might be holding tension. Maybe your feet, your hands, your face, or your belly. Just release it all. Your body has worked hard for you today. It's time for it to rest. It deserves rest. 8. Today is done. Whatever has been, has been. Whatever will be, will be. All you have is now. So thoughts about the day that just was, or days that are to come, don't serve you right now. Allow that realization to enable you to settle into this moment more. 7. This is your moment. You have nowhere to be, nowhere to go. The only place you need to be is here, enjoying this cozy sleep story and the sound of my voice. You deserve it. 6. You deserve it. You deserve rest. You deserve sleep. You deserve to be here. Allow that fact to help you let go a little more. 5. Perhaps allow yourself to feel a little gratitude now. Gratitude for this moment. Gratitude for the ability to rest. Gratitude for the simple things. Your breath, the shelter you have tonight, the opportunity to switch off in a place of safety. 4. Embrace the coziness of this moment, the coziness of lying down in a safe space, moving towards sleep in the beautiful act of storytelling. 3. Begin to engage with your imagine now. Engage with your imagination. Picture a beach in the Caribbean, a secluded spot on the beautiful island of Barbados. isolated from the rest of the world, or another favorite spot that you may have. Allow yourself to engage. Bring that picture to mind and check in with your body again. Make sure you're not holding tension anywhere. Release and allow yourself to sink a little deeper. 2, completely let go now as I tell you tonight's sleep story. The Library Lantern Walk. Chapter 1. The Door That Breathes. She arrives the way evening arrives, softly, without hurry, standing before a door that seems to breathe. It's made of old oak and a hush, the kind that remembers every whisper it has ever held. When she lays her palm against it, the wood is warm, as if it too keeps a slow, steady heart. She has come with only one simple wish. No riddles, no tests, just a gentle question that sits in her chest like a paper boat awaiting a stream. What would it feel like to rest without earning it? The door opens on a sigh, and the library inhales her. Lanterns hang in the air like dandelion seeds that chose to glow instead of drift. Each one is the size of her cupped hands and floats with the easy poise of a thought that has nothing to prove. Their light is not bright so much as kind. It pours like warm milk into the corners, gathering shadows in comfortable folds. The floor is a river of worn stone, cool underfoot, meandering in quiet curves. The shelves arc like shoreline, embracing snug alcoves where chairs wait with the patience of old friends. She moves the way moonlight moves across still water, slow, deliberate, and content to arrive everywhere without leaving footprints. The first shelf leans close, conspirational, and she brushes its spines with her fingertips. A slim volume sighs and releases the faintest scent of lavender. Another lifts a breath of pine as if it had tucked winter under its jacket and saved it for her. When she grazes a book jacket painted the blue of a distant horizon, a clean salt wind unfurls. Somewhere, unseen, gulls make a paper-thin sound, and the ocean turns in sleep. She smiles without deciding to. Inside her chest, that paper boat catches a current. She notices how the lanterns sway, not with draft or duty, but like slow, thinking jellyfish in a friendly tide. Their glow touches her shoulders, and she lets it gather there, the way dew beads on morning grass, quiet, simple, inevitable. She thinks of the day she has put down, lists lined up like fence posts, decisions stacked like plates, a steady parade of doing. Yet this library has no appetite for effort. It invites her to notice, the way a meadow invites clover, effortless, mutual, complete. In one alcove, an armchair waits, deep and moss-colored, with a throw folded over the back like a warm sentence about to be spoken. She drifts past it, not from resistance, but from curiosity, like a hand trailing the banister just to feel the grain. Shelves bend into a soft spiral, leading her inward. The lanterns hum a tone too gentle to be called music, and she realizes the pitch matches her own breath. Inhale, the lanterns brighten a shade. Exhale, the light loosens soft as the inside of a seashell. A small book, undyed, linen cover, corners rounded from affection, rests on a pedestal carved like a lotus. When she touches it, a meadow rises around her in a scent alone: sun-warmed hay, chamomile blush, a distant thread of rain that never quite arrives. She thinks, this is what ease smells like, and the thought settles not as a judgment, but as a feather returning to its bird. Her shoulders level by a fraction, as if a tiny smiling librarian has plucked a single stone from each pocket of her coat. She notices the sound of pages turning somewhere far off, soft as moth wings. She notices the way the shelves tilt just enough to become welcoming arms. She notices that the lanterns cast halos not only on the floor but in her mind. Circles of permission where once there were lines to cross. Awareness buds like a night blooming flower. Rest is not a finish line. It is a room that opens when she knocks softly. She continues walking, and the library answers her with simple blessings. A leather-bound atlas breathes out ocean air, cool and silver. A pocket diary releases a bakery's warmth, yeast, and cinnamon. An oven door opening on a snowy street. An old novel, its title worn to a whisper, exhales the green breath of a pine forest after rain. Each scent is a lantern of its own, lighting a small chamber inside her rib cage. The places she's hurried through, mornings, meetings, moments, start to feel like small towns lit at dusk, where someone has left the porch light on only for her. She pauses beneath a lantern that hangs lower than the rest, as if it has stopped to listen. Its light kisses the threshold of her closed eyes. She thinks of her question again and watches it change shape, no longer a plea, but a petal floating on still water. In this library, questions do not demand answers. They become softer places to sit. She places her hand over her heart, feels the steady metronome of a life that has done enough today, and lets the glow descend. Somewhere within, a door opens onto an inner alcove. She steps forward toward it, already lighter, as if the air has started to carry part of her. The walk goes on, and with each step, the night grows more welcoming, like a page that turns itself. Chapter 2: The Aisle That Teaches Breathing. She drifts deeper, and the lanterns seem to drift with her, as if the air has learned her cadence and decided to keep company. Their glow is a tide that comes in without ever going out, a hush that polishes every surface it touches. The shelves curve inward here, narrowing to a graceful corridor where the books lean close, shoulder to shoulder, like old friends murmuring blessings. She feels herself slowing the way tea cools, naturally, inevitably, becoming exactly the temperature of the moment. Along the left wall, a procession of slim field guides raises a quiet fragrance of crushed herbs and sun on linen. She runs a fingertip along the stitched spines, and the corridor exhales rosemary and mint, a hint of basil, and the memory of summer kitchens where windows were always open. The scent threads through her chest like a ribbon, and she notices how breath chooses ease when ease is offered. Inhale, the lanterns lift. Exhale, their light widens and spreads, a puddle of moon on polished stone. She pauses at a gap between shelves, a casual window made of absence. Beyond it, an alcove holds a ladder that needs no leaning. It stands upright on nothing, as dignified as a heron in shallow water. Nearby, a cart of books rests on quiet wheels. There is nothing urgent about it. The cart is simply pausing, the way a thought pauses on the tongue before becoming a word. She smiles at this permission to be unfinished. Her shoulders, those loyal pack animals, set their loads down and graze. She takes a book at random, a habit she has long considered a luxury, and the cover blooms with the scent of rain drifting across a wheat field. The aroma is the color of a brushed gold and patience. Words rise to meet her, and though she does not read them, they read her. They move like swallows, soft and certain, stitching the air with small arcs of grace. She feels a familiar impulse, the one that wants to capture, to memorize, to make usefulness out of beauty. But the library's quiet holds her palm open. Not this time, it seems to say. Let the blessing pass through, the way light passes through water. She sets the book back and listens. The corridor is full of small symphonies. The flit of a page turning somewhere far away. The gentle clink of glass as two lanterns kiss in passing. The soft weather of her breath rounding the edges of her thoughts. The soundscape is so kind, it feels like a quilt, and she tucks herself into it without moving at all. She realizes, like a window realizing it has been clean all along, that rest is not the absence of doing, it is the presence of being. The thought settles into her, a pebble in her pocket, unassuming and exactly the right weight. On the right wall, a row of travelogues sends up breezes, the ineffable citrus of a coastal town at noon, the resin of pines etched with winter birds, the salty crackle of evening on a pier. Each scent arrives like a postcard from the ordinary, stamped with a single generous word: here. She had expected wonder to shout, but it speaks as a neighbor speaks from a shared fence, low, warm, and close enough to pass a bowl of berries over the slats. She steps beneath a lantern that hangs at the height of her collarbone. Its light wears a faint pattern, the lattice of some unknown flower, and it lays that pattern across her like a shawl woven of meadow and lullaby. The simple question she carried into this place: what would it feel like to rest without earning it? Returns to her, not as a task to be solved, but as a cup to be held. She finds her hand has already curled around the handle. The cup is warm. The warmth is permission. Further on, an index of unremarkable moments waits on a waist-high plinth. She turns a leaf and finds entries that read like gentle jokes. Waiting for the kettle, shoelace retied, sunlight on sink. The exact second you remember a name and no longer need it. The pages smell like a back porch after a soft rain. She laughs, the quietest laugh, and the corridor brightens as though the building itself has been waiting to hear that sound from her. She realizes that nothing here is trying to be extraordinary. Everything here is being itself so completely that it becomes radiant. She continues, and the floor becomes a little warmer, as if her steps are small kindling, bringing up a hidden ember. The lanterns seem rounder, more companionable, floating at the pace of a late afternoon cloud. She notices the grain of the shelves, the swirl and the whirl that wood wears after having been a tree. Each curl in the pattern looks like a nap taking for the sake of taking a nap. She lets her eyes rest in those loops until her mind learns their lesson. Circles make homes of journeys. At the end of the corridor, the library opens its hands again, revealing a reading nook shaped like a comma, a place to pause without ending the sentence. A chair waits there, upholstered in the calm of river stones. On the side table rests a single book with no title, only a faint embossing of a lantern. She does not yet sit. The not sitting is its own sweetness. She stands and breathes and lets the day soften in her bones. Calm gathers like dew on a clover. Beauty lowers its voice and comes closer. The walk goes on, and she goes with it, a tide meeting its shore in smaller and smaller waves. Chapter 3. The Alcove of Listening Light. She enters a rounded alcove, the kind of space that seems shaped by breath rather than architecture. The shelves bend inward like arms encircling a lull, and in the hollow of that embrace float dozens of lanterns. Closer here, Their glow gentler, as if they are whispering with their brightness rather than speaking outright. They hover at different heights, some brushing the crown of her hair like a soft halo, others resting low enough that their light ripples across the floor in slow-moving pools. She notices that in this space, the air listens. It does not press or demand. It receives, tender as open palms, as if it has been waiting for her arrival to complete its quiet music. Her footsteps are absorbed in the way a meadow absorbs rain, without splash, without deepening. The alcove feels like a listening air, wide and patient. She realizes she is no longer walking into silence. She is walking into a presence that listens more carefully than she has ever allowed herself to be heard. The books in this alcove are wrapped in linen covers, the shade of twilight, dusty blues, soft purples, the blush of fading rose. When her hand skims them, scents drift free as though memory itself has decided to perfume the air. One volume breathes the green hush of moss on a riverbank. Another lets slip the aroma of freshly peeled citrus, sharp but softened by sweetness. A third unfurls the fragrance of warm bread set to cool on a wooden counter. The scents arrive as simple companions, each reminding her that the smallest things, bread, moss, fruit, can be lanterns in their own light. She draws closer to the center where a low table waits, carved from driftwood and polished by time. On it sits a crystal bowl filled not with water but with light. The light swirls like cream poured into tea, slow eddies of brightness folding and unfolding. She leans nearer, watching how the radiance curls and sighs against itself. For a moment, she imagines she could place her own thoughts there, let them dissolve into the spiral of glow until they become indistinguishable from the calm. The idea alone soothes her, the way a lullaby soothes before a single note is sung. The lanterns shift in their quiet orbit. One drifts close to her shoulder, humming its soft vibration in tune with her pulse. She breathes, and the lantern brightens. She exhales, and it dims, as if it has decided to practice breathing with her. She lets herself be taught. Inhale, her chest rises like a tide. Exhale, her body settles like sand, accepting the shape of the wave. She finds herself swaying gently, not to music, but to the rhythm of existing without rush. A chair, upholstered in fabric, the color of fog, waits in the corner, its cushions plump with patience. She lowers herself into it, surprised at how the seat seems to remember her, molding itself to hold her as the earth holds roots. The moment she leans back, a lantern floats down to hover just above the open book on her lap, though she does not recall picking up a book. The cover is blank, ivory soft, like moonlight stitched into paper. When she opens it, the pages are also blank. Yet, each breath she takes writes something invisible into them. She senses it, her breathing itself becoming script, her calm being recorded in a language made of rhythm rather than ink. She laughs, a gentle laugh, not at humor, but at recognition. Rest is being written into her. She doesn't need to capture or save it. It is already here, inscribed in lantern light, etched in the listening air, secured by the curve of shelves that bend protectively around her. The alcove grows warmer, though no flame burns. It is the warmth of trust, the kind that arrives when nothing is required. She tilts her head back, and the lanterns above look like constellations that forgot the sky and decided to hover closer, just so she would not have to crane her neck to admire them. They seem to say, even the stars want to rest sometime. She closes her eyes and lingers in the hum. Her question drifts nearer again. What would it feel like to rest without earning it? But how? It is less a question than a cradle. It rocks her gently, without urgency, without need of answer. The light deepens. The air folds around her like a shawl, and she realizes she is not merely in a library. She is inside the embrace of her own stillness, lantern lit and infinitely kind. When she opens her eyes again, the corridor ahead gleams, beckoning her onward. She rises, slower now, not because she is tired, but because she has discovered how lovely slowness is. The alcove releases her like water releasing a hand, and she steps once more into the unfolding story of the walk. The night grows lovelier still, and she moves within it like a sentence lengthening into poetry. Chapter 4. The Gallery of Gentle Echoes. She follows the curved stone floor into a space that feels taller, wider, as if the library has decided to inhale more deeply here. The lanterns rise with the ceiling, some drifting so high they resemble soft stars hanging in an indoor night. Their reflections shimmer across polished titles, so that she walks not only among light, but upon it, as though stepping across a river made of glow. Each football leaves behind no sound, only a faint ripple of brightness, like a note played once and allowed to linger into silence. The shelves in this gallery arch outward, bowing slightly, almost reverent. Their spines are a tapestry of colors, softened by time: sepia, cream, faded emerald, and the kind of red that resembles petals pressed in an old book. She runs her hand across them, and with each brush of her fingers, the air releases a tender murmur. Not words, not sentences, but echoes, fragments of laughter, sighs of relief, whispers exchanged between friends. The alcove she left behind had listened. This place remembers. She pauses, The echo of her own breath joins the gallery, returning a moment later like a friend, repeating her words to prove they were heard. She inhales again, slow and rounded. The sound leaves her chest, floats outward, and then returns softened, as if the walls themselves want to remind her nothing spoken here is ever lost. Even the smallest exhalation is gathered and cherished. The gallery carries its own perfume too. Threads of fragrance weaving through the air like ribbons caught in a gentle breeze. One shelf exhales the sweetness of wild honey, golden and slow moving. Another breathes the resinous sharpness of cedar, grounding, steady as a mountain. Farther down, a row of slim journals lets slip the delicate scent of lilacs after a storm. Each aroma arrives not as a demand on her attention, but as a gift she can unwrap or simply hold unopened, both equally welcome. At the center of the room stands a long table, carved from marble, veined with pale silver that glimmers under the lanterns. Resting upon it are instruments, quills, brushes, tuning forks, each humming faintly, as though remembering the hands that once used them. She picks up a tuning fork, surprised by its gentle weight. When she taps it softly against the edge of the table, the note unfurls like a silk ribbon, spreading through the gallery in widening circles. The lanterns respond, brightening in waves that follow the sound until the entire chamber glows as though illuminated from within her own chest. She feels the resonance in her ribs, as though her body has become both instrument and listener. The note lingers long after the fork grows still, echoing in layers, fainter, softer, but never disappearing. She realizes then that rest might be like this, not silence, but resonance without effort, a vibration that continues on its own, needing nothing more than permission to be felt. Setting the fork down, she notices a book placed apart from the others, its cover embossed with a single lantern surrounded by tiny engraved lines like rays. When she opens it, there are no written words, only faint sketches. A chair beside a window, a hand pouring tea, shoes left at a threshold. The sketches are so ordinary, they feel like secrets. Each page exhaled its own quiet aroma. Rosemary tea, wool warmed by the sun, rain-damp stone. She understands. The book is an album of everyday holiness, each mundane moment drawn into memory's embrace. Her body softens. She lets the gallery hold her as she lingers in those drawings, seeing herself mirrored not in grand triumphs, but in the small gestures of living. She feels beauty pressing close, not as a spectacle, but as a companion. The question she carried into the library, what would it feel like to rest without earning it, returns again, now drifting across the air like one of the lanterns. She notices it no longer stirs her chest with longing. Instead, It feels answered, though no answer has been spoken. The answer is this lingering, this noticing, this belonging to a space that delights in her without requirement. She sets the book back on its shelf, careful, almost reverent. A lantern lowers itself to her side, hovering like a guide. Its glow brushes her arm, and she feels warmth moving into her, the way light moves into stained glass, coloring it from within. She breathes, and the glow seems to settle deeper, steadying her heart like a metronome set to the rhythm of ease. At the far end of the gallery, the shelves open once more, revealing another passage. The lantern guide drifts forward, inviting her onward. She follows, her steps unhurried, her spirit lighter, as though the gallery has taught her something without words, that even echoes can be blessings, that every breath is remembered, that beauty waits patiently in the smallest corners of life. She leaves the space slowly, as one leaves a gentle conversation that lingers in the air long after the final word. Ahead, the library unfolds again, promising more lanterns, more scents, more invitations to rest. She continues, carrying with her the resonance of the gallery, an echo that hums like a lullaby against her ribs. Chapter 5, The Spiral of Stillness. She enters a passageway that curls inward, a spiral staircase carved not from stone, but from something softer, as if moonlight itself has solidified into steps. The lanterns follow her here, floating in an ascending pattern, their glow a gentle helix that guides her upward. Each step feels unhurried, as though the staircase knows how to carry her without hurry, like a stream carrying a leaf. Her body, so accustomed to urgency, begins to attune itself to the rhythm of the spiral, steady, circular, endlessly patient. The air changes as she climbs. It carries a hush, scented faintly of chamomile and parchment, the fragrance of evenings spent in good company with one's own thoughts. The spiral has no shadows, only gradations of light, pearl, ivory, the gold of candle wicks about to bloom into flame. She breathes it in and notices her chest respond with an ease she did not ask for, but receives all the same. Each inhalation is like drawing the universe closer. Each exhalation is like placing a letter into the hands of someone who has been waiting to read it. Halfway up, she pauses at a small landing, where a round window opens into nothing but night. The glass glows faintly, catching the lantern light behind her and scattering it into delicate patterns, as if constellations were being invented just for this moment. She presses her hand to the window pane, cool as a polished stone, and wonders if this is what it feels like to touch possibility, vast, quiet, endless, without urgency to be filled. She continues upward. The spiral seems to listen to her footsteps, adjusting its silence to cradle each one. Books line the inner wall, shelves curving with the staircase. Their spines are stitched in silvers and blues, their titles embossed in languages she doesn't know but somehow recognizes. When she lets her fingers graze a volume, the air loosens into scent again. A fireplace sighing into embers, a meadow humming with crickets at dusk, the cool metallic tang of river water beneath a bridge. Each fragrance lingers for a heartbeat, then softens, reminding her that beauty is not meant to be hoarded, but simply noticed before it flows on. At the next landing, she discovers a cushioned bench tucked against the wall, shaped like a crescent moon. A lantern has chosen to hover just above it, as if saving the seat for her. She sits, and the bench embraces her curves with gentle insistence, the way twilight embraces a field. She leans back, and for the first time, in longer than she remembers, her spine sighs. It releases not just tension, but the idea that she must hold everything upright on her own. The lantern above hums faintly, its light stroking her face. She closes her eyes and feels the glow seep in through her skin, traveling inward like a river of warmth. It pulls at her collarbone, then drifts lower, filling her chest, moving into her belly, softening each place that has forgotten softness. The sensation is not dramatic. It is ordinary in the most exquisite way, like sunlight laying itself across a wooden floor. She understands suddenly that ordinary is the secret doorway to wonder. When she opens her eyes, the spiral has shifted. It seems both narrower and more expansive, as if it has learned her shape and adjusted to fit her. She rises lighter now, her body humming with a resonance she cannot name but feels everywhere. The lanterns float upward, beckoning, and she follows, no longer climbing, but being carried in some subtle way. The staircase is no longer an ascent. It is an unfolding. Near the top, she notices how her question has changed again. What would it feel like to rest without earning it? It no longer hovers like a longing. It sits beside her like a lantern, needing no answer, only presence. The question has become a companion, its edges softened by stillness. She realizes she does not need to chase resolution. She is already in it. At last, the spiral opens into a circular chamber. Here, the lanterns gather thick as stars, their glow draping the walls in veils of golden white. In the center stands a single chair of simple wood, polished by time, facing a table on which rests one book. Unlike the others, this book has no spine, no cover, only a stack of pages bound with a ribbon of deep indigo. The sight of it feels like arriving, not at an ending, but at a place where endings no longer matter. She steps forward, steady as moonrise. The lanterns seem to pause, their glow deepening in anticipation. She reaches for the ribbon, her fingers brushing its softness. The room hums in reply, a resonance that echoes not through the air, but through her, like a lullaby remembered before sleep. She breathes, and the chamber breathes with her. The spiral has brought her to stillness. And stillness is no longer something she seeks. It is something she wears, like light, like breath, like a lantern held close. Chapter 6, The Lantern That Waits. The chamber holds her gently, as if it has been preparing for her all along. The lanterns float in quiet constellations, their glow weaving patterns on the curved walls, soft as silk threads laid over velvet. Each one seems both near and impossibly distant, like stars that forgot to stay in the sky and chose instead to keep her company here. Their light does not illuminate in the usual sense. It enfolds, settling into her skin the way twilight settles into the folds of a meadow. She moves toward the table where the indigo ribbon pages rest. The chair is plain, carved wood with a sheen born of a touch, a seat shaped by all the lives that once leaned into it. When she lowers herself, it greets her with the steadiness of earth itself, solid, patient, without question. She unties the ribbon. The knot slips free like water loosening its grip on stone, and the pages open with no resistance, as though they were waiting for this exact moment. The sheets are blank at first, empty in the way a horizon is empty. Space made not for absence, but for possibility. She breathes once, and the faint words appear, inked in light rather than pigment. They are not instructions. They are not commands. They are simply her own thoughts, softened and returned to her in a script she can finally read. You have always been enough, the words say, not because of what you carry, but because of what you are when you set the carrying down. She touches the letters and they dissolve into fragrance. The air fills with the aroma of lavender at dusk, bread cooling on a windowsill, pine warmed by morning sun. Each scent drifts into her chest, weaving itself through her breath, until she cannot tell whether the fragrance belongs to the room or to her own being. She realizes the answer is both. The lanterns shift, drawing into a slow orbit above her head. Their glow thickens into a canopy, like a sky laid low so she will not need to reach for it. A single lantern detaches from the cluster and floats down, hovering at the level of her heart. Its light is gentler than the rest, warm, gold, and steady. She lifts her hand and it settles softly against her palm, weightless as a promise kept. She gazes into it. Within the lantern's glow, she sees not images of far-off places, but moments she has overlooked. The curve of steam rising from a cup of tea, the hush of her own footsteps on a morning walk, the way sunlight lingers longer than expected on her desk in the late afternoon. Each vision is simple, ordinary, yet in the lantern, they glow as if holiness had chosen to disguise itself as daily life. Her breath slows, deepens. She feels herself becoming as quiet as the room, as luminous as the lantern she holds. Her question returns once more. But this time, it is no longer a question. What would it feel like to rest without earning it? The words soften into a lull, and she realizes she has already entered the answer. Rest is this: being held by light, by silence, by the beauty of what has always been present. Rest is no longer something she reaches for. It is something she is. The lantern warms her palm, and then with a tenderness she cannot resist, dissolves into her chest. She feels it nestle there, not as an object, but as a glow she will carry with her, a steady flame that requires nothing except her noticing. She closes her eyes, and the library exhales, a final sigh of welcome that sounds almost like a lullaby. When she opens them again, the shelves blur softly into shadow, the lanterns thinning into a haze of gold. The book remains open on the table, its pages blank once more, content to wait for another time. She rises, though she does not feel as though she is leaving. She feels instead as though she has been stitched into the very fabric of the library itself. As she steps back toward the passage, the lanterns dim to a soft shimmer, settling into rest themselves. The room folds gently around her, not closing, but holding the shape of her presence like a memory it intends to keep. She carries no book in her hands, yet she carries something far greater, a lantern now glowing quietly in her chest. And as she walks away, her body becomes the library's own story, slow, melodic, soothed, luminous, a lullaby wandering through the night.